So now we have the very beginnings of a simple two-character story, right? We have this idea of Abby, our female actress, our female character, starting with her places everybody, making sure she's where she needs to be and getting all set up, and then we have her actual action, her actual what should she do, right? Say knock knock, wait, say Philip, wait, say fill up my cup. We have that coordinated with similar program with Devin, our boy character, places everybody and our action, and they tell, as you've seen, a very nice little silly stupid knock knock joke. Well, now we want to improve this, and as a watcher of television, you know that what every bad cheesy joke needs is one of two things, if not both of the two things. And the first is a laugh track. We have to have the studio audience give the laugh that, haha, that was a funny joke. We acknowledge that. And the other thing that we might add in that every cheesy joke need is the idea of the rim shot, right? The ba-dum-tsh. And we're going to add both of those to our story here, to our knock knock joke. And so in this video, we're going to learn how to add sound effects. And I could add these sound effects to either Abby or Devin. You'll notice there's a sound menu here that has some sound code. And if you've paid attention up here at the top of the screen, you know, both Abby and Devin have their code. They have their costumes that we haven't looked at yet. We'll look at that in the next video. And then they have the idea of sound effects. And every sprite in Scratch comes preloaded with this one simple sound. Right, just that pop noise, mainly just so that there's something for the code to work on. I could add my sound effects to either Abby or Devin, but I'm not going to do that. I'm actually going to associate the sound effects with the stage. And I do that for three reasons. One is the metaphor reason. The reality is I don't think that if I'm doing a play, I don't have my actors and actresses do the sound effects. I have a stage manager off stage who does the sound effects for me. And so I'm going to continue that metaphor, and I'm going to put my sound effects with the stage. The second reason I'm going to put them with the stage is, well, admittedly, sort of a pedagogical one. I want to show you we can program with the stage, and that, in fact, there are reasons to program with the stage. And the third reason I'm going to put them on the stage is I actually firmly believe that this is the best place for them, actually, in a big picture program. I write a lot of my programs that uses the stage as the coordinator, as the manager, the director even, of all of my individual sprites. And so I'm going to show you that from the very beginning, that as things get complicated and build up between multiple sprites, I think it's best to use the stage as the manager of all of that. Okay, so there's all the setup for this. Let's actually get into adding the sound effects. The first thing I need to do is to actually load the sounds I'm going to use with this story. Again, Scratch only has this little silly pop right now, which I don't in fact even want. And so when I go to the Sounds tab, you might notice that down here at the bottom there's this little icon that is exactly the same four basic options that we had for costumes and stage backdrops over here, right? I can either import a sound from one of the chosen ones in Scratch. I can record a sound. Basically, if I bring this up, it's going to give me an editor. It's going to let me use the microphone in my computer to talk or speak or use all of that. Or I can upload a sound. So if I wanted to import the school's theme song into my thing, if I wanted to import a better laugh track, I can load that from existing sounds. I'm going to, because I like to show you all the existing stuff, let's look at choosing a sound. And so when we come up, you see something very similar to what we had when we imported sprites, right? A big, long table of things that, in this case, are sound effects. And I've purposefully not been moving my mouse. Now I'm going to start doing it. As you hover over each of those sounds, you get a little sample of what it's going to be, just like you did when you looked at the sprites and you could see the characters and you could see the different costumes they wear. We can do the same thing here, and there's a lot of them in here, right? Lots of sound effects built into things, and just like with the sprites, they're put into categories. Well, I'm looking for two things. The first thing I'm looking for is I'm looking for a laugh track. And so if you look at what's up here for the titles, animals, effects, loops, and things, I'm going to go to voice, and I know it's there, and under voice, here's a whole bunch of laughter, or a bunch of things, right? I can cheers and... Okay, that's kind of a creepy laugh, probably not appropriate. There's my laugh track that I might have for my program. And so I'm just going to click on that once. And you'll notice that what I do is that imports the sound into the Stage Manager's sound tab. And in fact, now that I do that, I can get rid of the pop sound because I'm not going to use it at all. So here's this really simple crowd laugh that I can use, and that works. And then there are others, right? I can... In previous versions of this course, I always use just the really simple laugh, which students always hated because it sounds so cheesy. But you know, you can import any of these different kinds of things and work with them. But we've got this. I like this new crowd laugh that came with. That's a good laugh track style of laugh. Now I want to get that rim shot, the ba-dum-tsh that I want into my thing. So I'm going to click on percussion up here because I know that's where it is. And you can, again, see a whole bunch of different kinds of things. I'm going to come over here. I like the cymbal crash. Right? That's one of the things I want. So I'm going to import my cymbal crash. And then I want also to have the idea of the two little hits to the hi-hat is where that actually happens to be. So I'm trying to avoid... Right, I could use the hi-hat. Actually, it was the snare I want, isn't it? Right, that's what I kind of want. So I'm going to put the snare drum into here as well. And so now I've got these three sound effects that I can use, right? And they work really well. Okay, what I want to do now is now that I've got the sounds I'm going to use is come back to my code section here. And so the idea is that I want my stage to play those sounds at the appropriate time. We know that we're going to have to, you know, when the green flag is clicked, we're going to have to start the program. So we're going to tell the Stage Manager, when the green flag is clicked, I want you to get ready to play some sounds. And eventually we're going to play those sounds. And you'll notice that there's two sound tabs, blocks that we might use here. Play sound until done and start sound. And the real difference here is whether these are blocking calls or not. Again, that idea of blocking is a computer science term for, do I start the sound playing and does it have to finish before I move on? Remember that we use that idea of blocking with the glide tab when with motion. Let me click back over to it, right? That the glide tab is a blocking call in that you must move all the way from where you are to this location before you move to the next command. And the same thing is true in this. We play the crowd sound until it's done, or we start it playing and we move on and we keep it playing, but we allow multiple sounds to happen at the same time. And that's actually what I'm most likely to use in this situation. For example, I want the crowd to start laughing, but I still want to hear the shh. And so we want to have all of those. So I'm going to pull out a couple of these start sound blocks, right? And I want to start the crowd laughing. I want to start the cymbal crash. I want to start the snare drum. See, so I can use this drop-down menu, and I can get access to anything that has already been imported under the Sounds tab for this particular sprite, or in this case, the stage. And so, you know, a good cymbal, a good snare, you know, rim shot might be two snare drum shots. So we might say play, start the sound for the snare drum, right? We're going to go ba-dump. Right, two different snare drum shots. Then we want to have the cymbal crash, and then maybe when that's all done, we want to start the soundtrack. And so if we just click on this now, I'm not quite ready to import it into the story. Let's hear that as how this sounds. All right, that's not quite right, isn't it? It started all of these more or less at the same time. And so that's not going to work for us, right? We didn't even hear, let me just put just the snare drums together. Notice we only really hear that once. Okay, we want to hear ba-dum. So maybe here what we need to do is, in fact, play the first snare drum sound until it's done, and then play the second snare drum. So let's see how that sounds. Okay, that sounds a little methodical, a little non-rhythmic, but it's not bad. And so now if we add the cymbal crash, all right, again, not quite what we're looking for, right? We really maybe here want to have this play sound until done. And you notice that this is really almost a trial and error kind of thing when it comes to sound effects. You have to sort of play with this. Okay, so that's a little mechanical in its sound, but we can get that sound effect. And at the same time, I don't want to wait till the cymbal crash is done. I want to start the laugh track right away. So let's hear this. That's pretty good. Let's actually, just to show you the difference here, let's actually go back to play cymbal crash until done, and then play the crowd. Let's notice the small difference here. Notice that in that cymbal crash had to completely finish, and there's a long, linger on that. That long linger had to finish before we started the crowd laughing. And so we want to start the sound of the cymbal crash and then immediately turn around and start the crowd so that both of those two sounds are happening at the same time. Awesome, right? That's what we're looking for with all of these. And so the idea is we say, let's play our sounds with our joke. And so we do this. Uh-oh, that didn't work, did it? Right? That doesn't work because we started those as soon as I said places, everybody. That's not what I want. I need these to happen only at the end of the joke. And so the simplest way to do this, the way that you're probably already thinking of, is this. We know that we expect it to take Abby and Devin, our boy character and our girl character, about 11 seconds to get to the end of the joke. 1 second for the places everybody, and then these 5 2-second blocks, right? And so what we can do is we can say, come back here to this stage and tell the stage manager that we want to wait 11 seconds, and then we want to play these sound effects. And so let's see how that looks now. So we go places, knock knock, who's there, Philip who, fill up my cup, I'm out of coffee. And now we've got the sound effects in our play. Nice next step.